Joining me now is the author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, Chang, my man Gordon Chang, and my buddy of forever, John McNiff, the founder and chief investment officer of Motum Capital Management. It's good to see you, handsome. I had more that I wanted to say about you, Gordon, but I guess in the control room they got tired of hearing me, so they just raced the teleprompter to your name. So I took the hint. So Gordo, when you're looking at this situation, I've been watching your social media. China's done. This is Trump's world now. They're dumping American assets, but it doesn't matter. They're running out of options. They're looking to come to the table. What is your theory of what's going on? It seems like you're saying the tariffs worked and China's feeling too much pain, so they're coming to the table.
Well, we saw at the end of last week that China was not imposing any tariffs at all on about $45 billion of U.S. imports. These are products that China needed, and this was a major concession. What was important about this, Chris, was that Beijing did not announce what it was doing. And I think the reason is because Xi Jinping has been basing his legitimacy on saying, well, I've taken China to a new level. We no longer need the U.S. We've surpassed the U.S. So I don't think he can say that he's dependent on trade with the U.S., and he certainly can't say that he is buckling under to U.S. pressure. So right now you have a Chinese regime. The economy is in distress. It is contracting. We can see this from the first number that came out of April, which was the Purchasing Managers Index, which showed a contraction of factory activity, which was the one bright hope of the Chinese economy. We know from February and March that the country is in a deflationary spiral. This is a distressed situation for Xi Jinping. And the only way out of it is if he can get Trump to fold. And I'm not so sure that he can do that.
All right, Gordo, thank you for laying that out. I appreciate it. That is the positive theory of the case. And John, you're looking at the markets all the time, and you're meeting with people about this, and you're trying to get a figure on it. That is not the only way to see it, the way Gordon's putting it out there. What are the other market factors that may affect investors and consumers no matter what happens politically? And then how do you see the balance of who's getting hurt more and what that means going forward?
So I think Gordon makes some great points. The pushback to take the other side of that would be that we're also experiencing pressure here in the U.S. Like if you look in Michigan and car plants and Stellantis closed down. You have issues with the Jeep Wagoneer plants in Michigan and more in Michigan as well, where they can't get enough engines, so they've shut down there as well. So pain is being felt on both sides. And I think what's going on from my standpoint is that we are at a position with China, and if you kind of think of it as a game theory standpoint, which I believe a lot of the people involved in negotiations with tariffs do, use this type of model, we're like in the bottom right quarter where both of us are losing right now. Everyone is at their ultimate stage of tariffs, right, where we are, and China has matched us. So when you sit there, the only really room to get positive movement is lower and moving away from that kind of lose-lose situation where we are now. China did not cave when we came out with the tariffs. They matched us. If had they caved and conceded to us or made concessions, then that would have been a very big positive to us in the U.S. That did not happen. So I think what we're seeing is, yeah, there's issues in China. I will push back. Their stock market ETF is up over 15% this year. FXI, S&P, yes, we're back from our lows, but we're still down 3.5%. So China's economy, albeit I agree, is slowing and has issues, particularly on the real estate side, but they're also doing stimulus, where our Fed is in a spot right now where they're in a very tough spot, whether they can lower rates or not. And today's data with unemployment really kind of took that potential for a May cut off the table, and they meet next week. So it'll be very interesting to see what they have to say with that.
So Gordo, the idea is you're hyper optimistic that China's feeling the pain more than we are and that they would cave to the pain more than we will. The only thing I'll add to John for you to respond to is, politically, it's not even a close call, Gordo, because the president can say whatever he wants. He's got pressure from his own, he's got pressure from the other party, and he's got pressure of delivering for the American people. Xi Jinping doesn't deal with any of that.
Sure. But also Xi Jinping is facing a political crisis of his own. We can see that from his loss of support in the Communist Party's senior ranks, especially in the military. So he's going to face the pressure as well. Especially because he's boxed himself in. He has now configured the Chinese political system so that only the most hostile answers are considered to be acceptable, which means there's a real possibility, Chris, that he could take China off the cliff by not negotiating with the US, by not doing what is economically rational. And that's a problem for him. So yes, of course, there's going to be pain in the US. But let's remember, we have had 3 decades of deeply injurious China policy and 3 decades of deeply injurious trade policy. So of course, there are going to be great costs getting out of this. But if we don't accept those costs, we are going to have an economy which is decimated by China's theft of US intellectual property to the tune of about $500 billion a year. And we're going to have more factories leave the United States. That is just completely unacceptable. So we are going to have to go through some very difficult times if we're going to want to maintain the United States as we've had it, as seen it in the past.
Well, but you may have to go through pain of transition, John, but the question is, who's causing the pain and for how long you're going to have to endure it, right? And that's the question about whether this was the right way to do what Trump's trying to do.
So I think that's where the markets and my pushback would be. Like, I agree with like everything you're saying around kind of the issues related to trade with China and their what they do with intellectual property rights and things like that. However, it would be much easier for us to have a dialogue with them and use tariffs if we didn't have a global tariff trade war going on at the same time. So now, when you look at our economy and the strength that we have versus just focusing on China, now we have issues with Europe, we have issues with Japan, we have issues with China, or Canada and Mexico. So we've really put ourselves, by coming forward with this stick across the entire globe, in a really, I think, a poor position from a negotiation standpoint. And the second little point I'll just make on that is that if you kind of just go back to COVID, we lasted a month with shutdown in our economy, and President Xi really was over a year there. So I think the pain threshold here in the U.S. is definitely lower, and the markets kind of focus on that as well, and are looking. I think one of the reasons I think we've rallied back is because you had, us at this point of ultimatums. And now we've backed off from that, and the markets have really kind of come to the thought that there are going to be deals done. It is going to take time, and that is going to be the race here. Is, does this data get worse while these deals get made over time? And historically, they do take a long period of time to go. And do we slide into recession? Do we have this kind of economic pain prolonged?
What do you think of that, Gordon? I'll give you the last point on that in terms of, you heard how I led into this. Price increases. I've never heard of the American people saying, we're going to buckle down and we're going to take some pain and we're not going to buy the cheap stuff. We're going to only buy American and not buy it all because we're backing our president's plan. I haven't seen that kind of patriotism recently. How does that factor into your analysis of who gives first?
Well, there's a real chance that Trump decides to fold, but I don't think that he will. It would be nice to think that we could marshal all of our friends and trading partners in a grand coalition against China. But really, that's what the Biden administration, to its credit, tried to do and absolutely failed. So perhaps imposing tariffs on everyone and making everyone come to the U.S. Because remember, we have almost 40% of global consumer spending is in the United States. Everybody needs our markets. And yes, this is messy. Yes, this is choppy. Yes, it really looks ugly. But maybe this is the only way to do it. Only time will tell, as John points out. And as Americans, we hope that Trump succeeds. Maybe the tactics don't, but we got a lot riding on this because really there's no alternative if we want to remain a prosperous society.
All right, I'll give you the last word, Johnny. I see you giving me the stink eye right now because you had something you wanted to say. You thought it's only my show. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. You make your last point.
I am like a reporter now. So I would just say, I would just prefer to, and if you look back in the first term where we had Trump's first term and how he handled tariffs with China and how well it was just markets responded to it. And actually the Biden administration kept them in place. That if we'd done a more targeted approach right here, pharmaceuticals are a huge issue, national defense, huge issue, things like that, and really focused on that with then the support of other allies that we could say, okay, we can create trading agreements around you versus this kind of all in across the board global trade war, really to me is a huge mistake.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.